I've been a die-hard VirtualBox fan for a long time, and I've been creating virtual machines in VirtualBox for a long time and been able to actually create my own sandbox environment so that I can test out certain settings, work with Windows as well as work with Linux, be able to do all the things that I need to. Recently, I've gotten myself a MacBook Pro, and now I'm trying to run VM Fusion. And I can begin creating VMs there perfectly fine and happy, but there are several old VMs, let's say for an example, old virtual machines that I would like to carry over into my new VM Fusion environment. And for me to be able to do that, I don't want to recreate it. I just want to be able to pull it in so I can use it. Well, we can actually do that by being able to export out of VirtualBox and import into VM Fusion. Let me go ahead and show you what we're talking about and how to do that. On my machine, I'm running Windows 10 and also VirtualBox. And let's take, for an example, what I want to do is I want to take this VM running inside of Windows, and then I want to export that so I can run it inside of my MacBook Pro on Yosemite and actually inside of VMware Fusion. So all I have to do is select this machine. I can go to File, and I can export the appliance. When I do so, I simply follow through the window that it gives me and, of course, the wizard right here. And what I want to make sure that I do is that I want to save it as a different format, which is the OVF format. I'm going to leave the defaults here, and simply when I do that, I want to change the location of where that's going to go, and I'm going to save it, and what that's going to do is save all the files for me, and I want to change it to this OVF format. When I do that, it will actually begin the process of actually exporting that VM over onto that thumb drive that I have. Now, the process does take a bit of time, so I went ahead and actually exported it. It took about 30 minutes, so to save times, it's actually saved right there on my thumb drive. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot my machine into Mac OS X and actually into Yosemite so I can actually import it into VMware Fusion. And once I get into VMware Fusion application, the next step is simple. I need to go ahead and begin importing in my virtual machine. Now, because everything is already set up, I've got my thumb drive connected in. I've got the exported OVF file that it's asking for. I simply go to File, and I select Import. And when I do that, I can actually choose the file that I want. So I'm going to go to my disk that I have it on, select my Windows 8.1 OVF file, and click Open. And then I'm going to click Continue. And once it does that, it's going to allow me to actually save it in there. And then I will go ahead and hit Save. And it will begin importing it as well. Now, every once in a while, you will find that once everything is actually imported in, you will get some failures and some different notices because it's saying, look, there's a new standard. It's a little bit tougher than it seems. You want to relax those standards, and you select Retry, and it will begin that import process again. And once it does that and it finishes, we'll also actually see the next steps here in just a moment. All right, you can see now that what's happened is it's finished importing in the virtual machine that I brought over from my Oracle VirtualBox, and everything looks like it's ready to go. If I go ahead and click Finish, now it actually launches up and it says, hey, wait a minute, there's something else happening here, and I'm just going to say fine. I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to balk a little bit about that there's some missing hardware, and you can see where it actually says it's going to start disconnected, and that's because I don't want it launching up automatically every time I open up VM Fusion. So at this point, that's perfectly fine. But there it is. You can see now that I actually was able to bring this one virtual machine that was running over there on Windows inside of VirtualBox, and now I can actually run it inside of VMware Fusion, which I'm running on Mac OS X Yosemite. So that's how you can actually export as well as import a virtual machine.